Hey there, welcome back to Tennille Talks. So, the title of this reading is Your Emotions Said That Betrayals Can Be Blessings Too. And so this is about an emotional state that you have been in recently or you are still recovering from, no matter when it took place. It's something that you are going through right now, or you are kind of phasing out and ending this. And so emotionally, sometimes it can feel like we are being drowned by the forces within us, almost like our internal waters are out to get us, right? They just won't stop. They can't settle. There's no calm. It is always some storm going on within inside of our vessel. And so strong emotions like this, they can be overwhelming. They can be intimidating. They can give us anxiety. We feel like we've lost control, and the emotional well-being that we have when we are in connections with other people are an indication of whether or not that connection is sufficient to our growth, right? And so we're talking about you going through a period of emotional turmoil. Now, you always have a choice when things like this take place. You can ignore the emotions and kind of just swim against the tide, almost as if the seas aren't choppy, right? It's not rough. Or you can be emotionally carried away. You can almost act as if you're going down, you're in the rapids. You're laying on your back and your emotions are just pulling you down. You have no control of where you go, how fast you go. You were just at the mercy of the water's current, right? Now, the other part is you can stop, right? And you can kind of reflect. You can feel the feelings and you can do so without judgment. Nonetheless, your emotions are your body's way of making sense with the world. And we are specifically talking about a significant connection, a relationship that you have been in recently or are phasing out of or considering doing so. And your emotions you feel capsized by them, right? And so they are trying to tell you something about this connection. They are trying to help you make sense, right? And so in seasons, in moments or experiences like this, your goal is to find something to hold on to, right? That will give you some type of stability, almost like a life raft. Because you can't control the waves, right? And sometimes you kind of just got to ride them out until the storm passes, right? And then you kind of resurface and you come back stronger, more logical, right? And then you kind of understand how to better navigate yourself to a safe place, right? Now, sometimes when you are always around a certain person, anytime you have an exchange with somebody, it can send you into a tizzy, right? You can almost just lose control, and it happens every single time, and this could be a long-term connection or something short-term, somebody that you have to deal with when you're passing each other in the workspace, somebody that's on your team. There are many situations where now this one is a little deep because there is a betrayal involved, right? So this isn't just somebody being an annoyance, but this is somebody that I think they gain some type of thrill off of seeing you uncomfortable in your own skin. It's almost like they take their hand, they put it inside your chest, and they just twist. They move their fingers around, right? And they just like to disturb your spirit, your soul, but they like to see you unsettled, okay? Now, again, if this is not you, and if this is let's say these are people that you are surrounded by who emotionally are unstable, right? They have no balance, no consistency. And so people like that are just in your environment, they are going to use you as their life raft to gain stability. And all of that energy that they can't control now pours into your sphere. And now you have to manage things that do not even belong to you. Your currents are calm, right? But as soon as their boats start to come near your waters, now all of a sudden, you're in a storm, right? And so when those people are clinging to us or are in our environment that don't have the stability and the reflection ability really to look at what's going on, to feel the feeling, those people are going to hold on to you. But instead of being a raft, you have to become the lighthouse. You have to stay strong, right? And you don't always have to talk to them or respond to them, You just have to know when it's time to exit the room, right? When somebody starts to go in and kind of do this emotional diarrhea thing, you know that's when you exit. Oh, give me just a moment. I think I've got to do something real quick, right? It could be polite. It's not like, oh God, here we go again, right? Because then we're matching emotions. So it's just a gentle, I got to give myself peace because I realize you're about to drain it, right? And that's what you say in your mind. We don't say that out loud, but this message is about you realizing that you really can't pursue the things that you most deserve and desire. It is kind of hard to move towards your dreams when you are being emotionally pulled in different directions, whether those are your feelings or the feelings of another, right? And so when we are talking about you having the audacity to pursue your own gifts and aspirations, you have to first train, you have to defend yourself, because listen, when you get on your path to build what you love the most, prepare for storms to come. Prepare for people to come and to want to destroy it. And so before they destroy what it is you're building, you have to secure who's building it. And that is you, right? And so this reading is about being able to secure yourself first. Your dream needs you to be healthy. It needs you to be clear-minded, right? It needs your emotions and your ability to reflect to be an automatic system, something that is just built into your awareness. It happens every time you begin to get signals that just aren't making sense, right? And so you have to build you first, and then you go on and build it. And so relationships are sometimes the base of our well-being, right? And so we need to be in relationships that are mutually beneficial, right? What you put in, you need to get out. Now, you have a way of pouring into a relationship, and the way you pour might be different than the way another pours, and you have to be at peace with that, right? And so the idea is the energy, the style, the consideration, the effort. They don't have to give you what you give them, but they need to give an exchange of energy that is matching, that is equal, right? You fill each other's holes, you match each other's voids, right? You are puzzle pieces, not identical, but you fit because you both show up in the same way. Right? Now, some people consistently are going to be committed to disturbing you, committed to misunderstanding you, right? That too serves a purpose for them. Somehow it is beneficial to them when they don't meet your needs, when they are not listening to you, right? When they actively do things that you have expressed peacefully and plainly that you just don't appreciate or you don't like, right? And so have the courage to build yourself in a space and in an environment that supports your emotional well-being, right? And so feeling safe enough to welcome people into your heart is a challenge after you have experienced betrayal, deception, lies, right? It is very hard to do, but that is what you are asked in this moment to have the courage to do. Simply to open the doors of your heart, right? Because when you do that, possibilities open. Every person represents some type of possibility, right? But when we've been devastated in connections, we start to look at people as threats. And seeing certain people as threats, right? That's totally fine. But this can't be your autopilot. This can't be how you just naturally run, where we were always on guard, thinking that every connection is going to just be the next one that takes us out, right? And so the idea is you have to have the courage to switch the condition of your heart. Now, the experience that you've been through recently and what they did to your emotional state, those are real, those are valid. And the adjustments that you have to make will come along the way, but you can't make them unless you commit to new experiences, right? Because you have to practice the skills that you've learned. You have to practice whether or not you respond, how you handle people that are just almost sent to disturb you in some way, to stop you, right? In some way. And so what supports and what helps you the most when you are building you first so that you can then be surrounded by a group that is cohesive, and then you can go ahead and build whatever it is you're going to do. What first protects you, your first line of defense, right, is the connection you have with yourself. This gives me the energy of like my definition of sin, okay? When I think of sin, I think of using my free will in such a way that I am bringing harm to myself. Now, biblically speaking, there are laws and commandments that tell us exactly what not to do, because guess what? It's already done the work for us. It says, listen, you don't want to do this because that's going to come back to you, right? You don't always know when or how, but it's coming. So let's just avoid it and let's not do this thing. And also don't do this one, right? So sometimes collectively, we just already know, right, what it is that we are not supposed to do. Now, we don't always need the Bible to do that, right? It is in us, right? It is a part of our hardware to understand what pain is, what harm is. And if it doesn't feel good to you, well, guess what? It won't feel good to the next. Now, sin is when you actively use your free will to harm yourself, whether that is emotional, physical, mental, right? And so you are your first line of defense. And so the way you protect yourself determines who has access to you, right? And so your safety and your security, what you need to keep yourself from harm as a divine being, you have a shield almost, right? Your aura. And that is the mechanism that warns you of danger, and it protects you from harmful energies. But listen, your connection to your shield is going to be lessened or weakened or fragile or sick if you are harming yourself. And what is harm? It's going to be different for everybody, right? It can be negative energy, your own negative energy. It can be addiction. It can be lust. It can be having weak flesh. Listen, our flesh is going to be calling out for all type of pleasures, whether it's sex, food, right? Greed, right? Our flesh wants what it wants. And at the end of the day, we're surviving. And who doesn't want to have pleasure as we are on this journey of survival, right? Who doesn't want to feel good? Who doesn't want to have the best or the most? Like, those are carnal desires, but rationally, as a divine being, you should be able to conquer your flesh and say, okay, now flesh, I know that's a beautiful man, or I know that's a beautiful woman, but they're actually married with a family and children. And so although they may be pursuing us, and although there is chemistry and a connection, we probably should avoid that, right? And so when we put ourselves in situations that are harmful, we are sinning against self. That is how we break down our own mechanism of defense, right? Because now the harmful energies can get in. We literally have poked a hole in our shield and say, come on, come in, come one, come all, come all. We've done that ourselves. And so before we have the courage to stand up against the people that are bringing harm to us, we first have to stand up to ourselves and change the behaviors, the ideas, right? Our thoughts, your belief system, right? And you have to remain vigilant. You are your first line of you are your security guard. You are your SWAT team. You are your CIA, right? You are the NSA. You need to protect yourself in every way possible. And this is not an anxious type of thing, but this is like, I know that I have something that is valuable. And if I know it's valuable, others know it's valuable, and they may not have my best interest at heart. Right? And so the way I handle myself, when I move with integrity, truth, and honesty and conviction consistently, when I commit to myself, I am just a better human to me first, right? That is the energy that we should all want to live in. Now, the amount of years that it takes to understand what you are packing inside of your vessel will take quite a while, considering that many aspects of life essentially wanted to beat it out of you, right? And so you got to find it, and then you got to protect it. Like, this is not an overnight thing. Your spiritual journey is about acquiring something from finding something within, as opposed to acquiring something outside of yourself, right? And so fiat currency has nothing to do with your spiritual journey. You don't need it to spiritually rank, to spiritually grow, right? Or to spiritually expand. It doesn't work. That works in a different world. And so what you need to win, essentially, or to progress on your spiritual journey is energy, clean energy. that is what will slow you down, right? We are spiritual beings. We are beings of energy, and we use energy as divine alchemists to move forward, to move back, to stop, to repel, to protect. We use it consistently without even knowing it. And so your emotions are a form of energy, and they are trying to help you make sense of what is going on around you, who is around you, and possibly, are you willing to make an adjustment based on how you're feeling? Can you do it? Do you have the courage to do it, right? And so sometimes, the journey, it's literally the process of not becoming more, but almost removing the things that are stopping you from becoming more, right? So what is obscuring your view? Is it a person? Is it a habit? Is it behavior? Like, what is it? What is it that is not allowing me, to see what I have, to see what I possess, to see my gifts, my assets, my skills? Something is not allowing me to see. And every time you remove something that is blocking your vision, whether you put it there by way of moving against yourself, or it is coming through relationships, right? However it got there, are you willing to remove it to see what's behind it, right? This is essentially shadow work. And so when you do this, you become magnetic, right? Now energy is coming back to you. It's like you're calling all parts of you, or you are calling the universe in. Nothing is blocking your connection to God, spirit, the universe. You are totally open to pull down and to pull into you what you deserve and desire. This is essentially you aligning with who you truly are by removing all the things that you truly are not, right? And so you have to be focused in order to do this. And you have to believe that everything that is right for you is coming to you. Like, you have a specific story. You have a specific timeline in which things are going to unfold. You just have to know this, even when times are dark. You have to trust this, right? Everything is right on time for your specific story, right? And so now we're talking about the possibility of envy and jealousy. Prepare that when you become more magnetic, it is going to irritate people. Like, nobody can really walk in your shoes or truly understand what you've been through, right? And so when they start to see you pull down your inheritance and walk in your own essence and power, it is going to look like magic. It's going to look like something is unfair, that the odds are stacked against them, right? Now, they have no idea what you've had to go through to get to this space, to get to this version of existence. And so now they are going to project, right? And so these are the people that are setting themselves up to betray, right? This is going to happen. This is a guaranteed experience that you can expect to explore on your spiritual journey. Our spiritual journey was never not a spiritual journey. So for many of us, before we left the womb that carried us, we were already set up to experience a certain life, a life of rejection, a life of neglect and abandonment. This is always going to be a part of the human experience. Now, there are certain moments, believe it or not, that are a win, even when they're not evident or apparent to us, right? And so we call these kind of like hollow victories, right? Every journey, every aspect of the journey or the experience or the relationship, even the ones that betray us, those are essentially lessons that will move us ahead. The idea is to just have an experience, and it will move you if you allow it to move you, okay? And so some situations we deal with unexpected loss, right? We were moving in a certain direction, and then something just comes and almost takes something away from us, right? Sometimes we feel outsmarted, we feel tricked, we feel sabotaged, right? By somebody or something else that we allowed to be on this journey with us. Now, those experiences also were for you at a specific time in your story. No matter what they were, right? This is not me being insensitive, but I'm just saying, even the experiences that bring us bitterness and loss, the ones that just make us sore and ache on the inside, were sent to us at a specific time because they are a part of our specific story. Now, however you make peace with that and how long it takes you to make peace with that determines what you are capable of doing next, right? And so wins and losses, They are both equally a part of the human experience, even the ones that leave us a little bit sore. Deceit is always an unfair advantage. When you show up in honesty and truth and somebody has already calculated that they will, they will one up you in using deception, using lies, using trickery, that is unfair, right? Because you showed up with a pure heart. You expected one thing, and the one thing you expected was never on the table as an outcome, right? So there are those moments, those certain moments where we're like, life isn't fair. If you stay in that life ain't fair moment for too long, you drain your own energy, right? Now you are essentially sinning against yourself. Now you have popped your own shield of defense because you were thinking that you have no defense. You were thinking that there is no rhythm or rhyme to your story. You were thinking that you are unprotected simply because you experienced a loss. Your protection didn't leave you. That was the lesson, right? And you need the lesson to better understand how to protect yourself. Now, this is something that you have to accept, and it just doesn't feel good, right? And so when we have a fear of failing, we are actually draining our most useful energy because we're not trying. And when we're not trying, we are not willing to do what we need to do to be successful, right? And so you always possess the keys to self-improvement. But sometimes self-improvement is going to be hidden or tucked away, lying dormant in your difficulties. And so we got to accept the good and you got to accept the bad. And you have to consider that some victories are hollow, right? They came because we were supposed to upgrade our skill. We were supposed to upgrade our line of defense, right? This is what boosts our consciousness. This is what pushes us towards expansion, right? And so these are required activities, human activities, right? Or events in life that let us to build on an experience. And so believe it or not, betrayals can be blessings too, right? And so as you move through this story, you are asked, or you are being guided to face challenges head on and overcome them. Overcoming is the only outcome. Know that when you are in a challenge, I know I'm going to overcome this. This doesn't feel good. I'm mad that I got to do this right now. This is not what I intended to set myself up for. This is not what I intended to participate in, but I'm going to overcome it. Like, that is it. Now, how you do it, how long it takes you, the way you do it, open yourself to spirit to guide you, right? During this part, I kind of thought about my experience as a little girl, right? The little girl that made it. And many of you, if you just think about your childhood and the fact that you may have been at the mercy of a family that would never be able to love you, honor, respect you, right? And somehow you made it to this day. However many years you are, however many days you have lived, how did the inner child, the littlest version of you, when you were innocent and ignorant and naive, right? When you were vulnerable, how did you make it to the next day? How did you make it to the next set of 5 minutes, right? Imagine having or enduring moments of abuse, right? I mean, listen, if your parents are abusive in some kind of way, I mean, how many days did you have to go through that? And how were you able to make it to the next day or the next year? Somehow you kept celebrating birthdays. Like, how did you do that? How did that little girl, how did that little boy do that? Right? You didn't have the skills and the talents and the consciousness that you do now, but somehow you made it through. That is what I started to think and feel, right? I think about all the residue that has essentially stained my psyche by the many forms and varieties of abuse that I have experienced before I even knew that that was abuse. It literally was just life. For me, there was no way that I could live without it because it was the only thing I knew that would be consistent and constant, right? But how did little Tennille get to the next day? How did I smile? How did I laugh? How did I anticipate? And so the fact that you got to where you are now is an indication of something you were supposed to get here. It was a part of your story, right? And so the adult version of us is just like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. But when you were we can all say weaker. I mean, you were stronger in the spirit, possibly, but you were weaker physically, right? You couldn't protect yourself, but spiritually something protected you. You have that ability now. It never left you. It's just, do you believe it exists? How are you interpreting the experiences that you've been through before? Are you sinning against yourself? Are you breaking down your own mechanisms? Are you your biggest harm? Do you cause yourself the most danger, right? And so the ability to check in with your well-being and to consider, what are the things that make me feel empowered? What is the old that I have to leave behind, right? Now, you couldn't ask yourself this as a little child. You just had to get up and go the next day, right? You never knew to ask yourselves. But now, in the season that we are in, these are the type of questions and conversations that you have to have, right? Because it is all about you emerging into the next phase. But if you cannot get past that last phase, that yes, it took you out, if you can't find the parts of it that would have made that a hollow victory, then how are you going to continue, right? And so you are always transitioning. Your nourishment, the health of your body, your inner strength, they all give you life, right? They give you, those are the things that keep you going. And so how can you use those aspects to feel empowered, to find strength, even in situations that weaken you? One of the hardest things is to set up boundaries. You first have to build your boundary. We talked about your mechanism of defense, right? But then you have to put boundaries between you and the people, places, and things that weaken you, that attempt to come in and take something from you. When you say yes to others, you have to make sure that you're not saying no to yourself, right? You are here to do something that only you can do. And so you have to have the proper time, the proper space, the support, right? You have to have the inspiration, right? To care for yourself and to care for your path. Nobody else can do that. And so loving yourself enough to say no to the things that are demanding your energy, right, is a beautiful act of self-care. Staying away from the people that try to keep you small, right? No, I'm bigger than this. I'm absolutely bigger than this. That doesn't always need to be said out loud, right? True friends, true family, and true connections are always going to support your growth, even when they do not understand it, right? Even when they don't have the vision. If it is important to you, well, then it becomes important to them, right? And so moving in silence until you are ready to share what you're thinking, feeling, pursuing is absolutely essential to setting a boundary, right? You give a certain amount of information, but then guess what? The rest is for you. It's not necessary. It is not a part of their calling. They are not required to do or understand it. So why do they need to know? Why do you have to spend 10 minutes explaining your mission, your passion to somebody who wasn't ever supposed to understand it to begin with? That is a waste of your energy. Just say, hey, I'm doing something I love, and at some point I'll be able to share it with you. But right now I'm in a phase where I just need to really focus. Easy, right? Done. You are not obligated to listen to the opinions that people have about your personal story. Your personal details are yours and yours alone, right? Now, the thing is that sometimes when we are going through these transitions, when we are trying to establish boundaries, what can we always expect to come in? Temptation. Now, many of us, or some of us, refer to it as the devil. But let's just think of the devil as a certain type of energy, because the devil can be chocolate chip cookies, right? It can be, what's my favorite beer? Yingling. It can be a Yingling. The devil can be a person, right? It can be the guy at the office, your work husband, or it could be the work wife, right? The devil can come through a lot of different things, and it depends on your flesh. What is a devil to me is not going to be the devil to you. And so most times the people that are going to surround you are going to be people that share the same devil that you do. Because in order to get to you, it's got to be in your environment. People are going to come to you or be in your life that carry the same weakness, right? Because if they're not strong enough to fight it, it's going to be assumed that you won't either, just because you are connected to them. Birds of a feather, right? The devil is always going to come in and offer you some type of release, right? oh, that doesn't feel good, that's not going well, whatever, whatever, whatever. Guess what? I've got something that does, right? And so then we start to embrace something, right? We think it's, oh, this is healthy for us. It will give us a release. It will give us a break. But what you don't know up front is that the very thing that seems necessary is also the very thing that you become addicted to. Alcohol, work. Work can be the devil, absolutely. Drugs, sex, codependent relationships, right? When you literally have to be attached to another person to feel your greatest self, right? Whether because of the assets or the materials they have, or because they are emotionally manipulative or available and they've got you tied to them somehow, right? The devil is always going to summon you towards your darkness. And your darkness, those are the things that hide the truest version of yourself, right? The darkness is what obscures your energy, right? So you are going to have to be mindful of who and what and where you are surrounding yourself, right? Because you will succumb to temptation, right? Now, working on your healing relationship with your own heart is a level of defense, because immediately you will know, oh, you're about to do that thing I told you I didn't like again for the 50th time, or you're about to, right? Like, you will start to realize when the trigger is coming and you will immediately separate yourself from it. Now, whatever takes away your time and whatever takes your energy away, but somehow leaves you feeling empty, is a devil. Okay? It absolutely is, because guess what? It is not a mutually beneficial exchange. So immediately, yes, there are all kind of drugs that feel good the first 4 to 6 hours, but then what about the next, 14 to 16? How is that going to feel? Right? And so sometimes it's the flesh that wants the immediate gratification. But guess what? This journey, it is going to bring you the moments of joy and pleasure and achievement, but it does take a little longer to get there when you have agreed to the divine path. And so temptation is going to give you exactly what you want and need. But if you have to step off your path to do it, then it is not for you. It is taking from you. It is not contributing to your progress or to your growth. And so you being able to liberate yourself from the things that bind you and keep you trapped is what you're being asked and guided to do. Now, the most challenging part about this is that you have to really stop and think, where am I spending my time? How can I improve the use of my time, right? To ensure that my lifestyle is one of balance, right? Sometimes when you are swamped by too many demands, that is detrimental to your well-being. So freeing yourself from the habits or the tasks that are engulfing you is necessary, because then finally you can access your creativity. And so your creativity, those are the pieces of your divine self. Those are the pieces of the light that you have that's just been hidden by your shadow, right? And so even if you can take small creative or passion habits or ideas or projects and embed them into your routine on a daily basis, even if it's just 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, this is going to be most useful, because you will continue to harness that energy, right? This is how we kind of purge or transmute what is not working for us. We're going to adapt or adjust your time just a little bit. One of the things that irritates me, one of the things that literally sucks the life out of me, I don't know why I put this in my notes to talk about, is when people ask me questions that they know the answer to. Small talk kills me, right? People that play small, it is a slow death to me. It really is. So here's an example. I get all my, I'm getting dressed, got my keys in my hand. Are you going out? Yeah. Right? Or it's raining outside. You can hear the thunder. You can hear the lightning. Somebody's like, is it raining? Like those, I don't know why, but it is like, oh God, I can't take it, because I feel like I am being forced to respond to an answer that you already have. And so you are just withdrawing just little pieces of my energy. And for what? You already can use yours to figure it out. Now, I don't know if that's petty. I don't know if that's anal, but those type of relationships or connections that are just It's like, we have nothing to do here. Like, come on, we don't have to do this. And I'm not talking about a stranger. No, I'm not talking about a stranger. I'm talking about, honestly, for me, a family member who just always is just withdrawing. They are never depositing. And when they have conversations, I never leave feeling like I have been given any wisdom. I've learned nothing. And it's just a waste of my exchange. And this specific person that I'm referring to can literally do this all day, every day. This is who they are. This is their character. This is their personality, right? And I'm sure me being me irritates them, right? Because I'm too serious. Or I just, I'm doing too much. Like, God forbid, I want to talk about something meaningful. I just don't want to shoot the shit, so to speak. Like, I don't have that kind of time. Listen, we get one shot at this. I will never be able to be Tennille again. And so once I get to a certain level of waking up and I start to establish boundaries, like, I am going to honor them even when another can't. And I'm never going to judge you or be angry that you are not getting my boundaries right. Like, allow me to establish that. Like, that is good practice for me. That is a lesson. Now, when I state what I prefer and you don't make the adjustment, or you consistently, like, I will probably just have less and less to say to you, right? Because now I've got to protect my energy, because you're just not understanding the things that I've needed. This is not a mutually beneficial relationship. And not everybody is doing it intentionally. They are literally the greatest that they can be in that moment. In every moment, everybody is literally the best that they can be at that specific time. Right? And so, sorry. I lost track of mine. Yes, so playing small. Some people are just always going to play small. Now, in order for you to embrace your own wholeness so that you can start to create, you can start to access your own potential, you have to recover the parts that you have lost access to. Some people are going to want to hold on to versions of who you were, aspects of your identity, aspects of your personality. And so if the old me entertained small talk and did nothing for a couple hours a day with this person, then when I start to shift and change, they won't necessarily like it. Now, this is how we get projection. This is how we get spell work. Listen, sometimes you get spell work so that you don't start your journey. Other times you're on your journey and you get spell work so that you don't continue it. And spell work literally could be somebody gossiping about you, right? Because they are putting an energy out, and whoever they're speaking to, they are shifting the energy that you are able to receive or access from that person. And so once people start to speak, which is the most powerful form of magic, in my belief, once people start to do that, it sends an energy out into the universe that does exist. Now, are you who they say you are? No. So it'll kind of roll off your back, right? It's got to return somewhere. But I don't even want to be on the same energetic frequency to receive the frustration. So I'm just going to remove you beforehand. You can say whatever you want behind my back. But if it ever gets back to me, then I'm probably in the wrong environment, because I shouldn't even know about it, right? And so when you come into wholeness, you commit and you never go back. You never get off. You literally pull all the pieces of you from all the people, from all the memories, from all the experiences that have taken from you. You get it all back because you need it in order to access your true passion, your true creativity, your essence, your energy. You get it all back. This is like a major repossession type of moment, right? Because in order to grow your roots for the future, you need seeds. And sometimes we have given seeds or left seeds behind in the experiences that are kind of just draining us energetically, because we have attached some negativity to it, right? Like, we need those seeds, so we have to collect them. You have to take them away from the people that you thought you could plant something in, the people that you thought you could grow something with, right? So you're in this phase of like, what am I going to put into this world? You literally have seeds in your hand. What are you going to put into the world? What is it? Right? And you need all of your energy to bring this into existence. Now, what you don't know, or what is outside of your awareness at some times, and this is the part that I don't think is always fair, is that you totally can go through a season of growth and then it's almost like you hit a wall. Right? This is the period of stagnation, right? And you don't know why things are stagnated. It's like Is it because you were unable to move forward? You were unwilling to move forward? Like, what is blocking my development? Now, whatever the struggle is that is affecting you to heal and regenerate is what's blocking you. So when I talk about these connections that are lifeless, or these memories, these habits, these behaviors, these self sins, all of those things are what stop your healing and your regeneration. And so when it seems like growth has stopped, it's almost like, hey, you got to go back and pick up those seeds. There are some things we left behind, and if we don't get them, we don't have a clear path of what to do next, right? Our vision is obscured because we have too much shadow. We can only move forward with 40% shadow, and right now you have 52. So 12% needs to be recouped. Like, you got to go figure out where you left some things, so we can have the ample amount of light to keep going, right? This is essentially like a progress report. You grow, you get your lessons, and then you stop. And now life, the universe, God's spirit wants to know, well, what did you learn? What can you demonstrate? Right? Now go practice it. Go heal a little bit. Go regenerate. Go get some energy. Go collect something that you left with someone. Go get it back. Can you get back what you need? Now, we just taught you a few lessons about giving it out in the wrong way, right? Or misusing it inappropriately on yourself. Now, can you go back and get it? It looks like a lack of growth. No. You grew as things grew, and when something stops, consider this to be a test, a progress report, or a quiz, right? What needs to be repossessed? What needs to be looked at? What needs to be healed? You don't have enough energy to get to the next phase. What is draining you? Where are you leaking, right? Now, when you can face that and you can accept that, there are certain things you cannot change about what you've been through. And so sometimes it's literally just a mindset. I do want to take note of this because I put something. This is very much a physical thing. Sometimes our health is changing in ways that we will never be able to stop or to control, right? We could have endured an accident. If you, have the female anatomy, we could be talking about menopause, fertility issues, just the female well-being. Just based on the cycles and what the body does over the years, and how literally, like every 7 to 10 years, you have to get used to what your body does because it's always changing, right? And the way it looks in the end is not how it started in the beginning. And I'm not talking about aesthetically. I'm talking about your internal sexual function and organs. That takes a toll on who we are emotionally, because there are certain things that we just can't stop. We cannot stop aging. We cannot stop our health from declining. So whenever you have the power to offer yourself the best type of well-being, you should take it, because at some point it's going to be moving against you. It's going to be slipping away or weakening. Now, what is true is that the more we resist change, the harder it is going to be to get back to a new period of growth, right? Challenges are going to come. If there are specific relationships that you have, I'm thinking about a mother figure, whether you are a mother or whether you are a nurturer of some sort, parenting, or somebody that has parented you over a series of years, that relationship changes as you change. So that's almost like every 3 to 5 years, you have to figure out how to become a different parent, or you have to realize that the connection that you have with someone that parented you, it no longer fits your growth, right? It is impeding you. It is stopping you. And as long as you keep this connection going, I can't access my bliss. I can't do what makes me happy, because you have an expectation of me that you built 10 to 15 years ago. And I am telling you that this is not who I am. This is not what I need, right? My life is taking me on an adventure. And I'm late. Better yet, I'm not even on. I continue to miss the bus, the train, the flight, because I'm stuck in something that refuses to let me go, that refuses to grow, right? Listen, anything that interests you is meant for you. And anybody that doesn't understand or that resists that aspect of you is probably telling you subconsciously, I can't go forward with you. The rest of the journey is built for you, but it's not built for me, right? And so the world is yours, and it is yours to do with it exactly what you are sent here to do with it. There are going to be a lot of unexpected twists, right? But when you follow your truth and your path, and when you allow your emotions to give you the signs and the signals about what's happening in the world around you, it becomes easier. And so your emotions are really there to help you and to guide you. What people, places, and things are you attached to that are essentially betraying your growth? And remember, in order for a betrayal to be a blessing, you have to look at it in a whole different perspective. Thank you so much for coming to this talk. I love you, and I'll see you on the next one.